MBA 4.0 Masterclass session. Let me begin this session by thanking Dr. Joerg Otzen, who instantaneously accepted my invitation to be a guest speaker tonight to share his rich industry experience and insights into entrepreneurship, irrespective of his busy schedule. Dr. Joerg is a German by nationality. He's a German by nationality. He is a serial entrepreneur and magnate with more than 3 decades of specialized industry experience in the fields of A, investment banking, including but not limited to capital markets fundraising by equity and debt, mergers and acquisitions, valuations, IPOs, and financial restructuring. B, high-tech production. C, commodity trading. D, medical industry and real estate. And as I know, he has his investments in all of these fields. He holds a doctoral degree in mechanical engineering and MBA from Harvard Business School. In retrospect, we met a decade ago, and I believe it was in the Ritz-Carlton in Dubai for the first time, and got connected to each other within no time. Though we hailed from diversified backgrounds, varied cultures, and belief systems, but the way Dr. Joerg have nurtured our relationship is what stands out for me in my journey of over 17 years of entrepreneurship. Dr. Joerg, Alexei, a Congolese nationality, and myself, we established a mining and trading company in Rwanda, Central Africa, to undertake mining and export of high-value mineral concentrates of what is known as 3 Ts, T for tin, T for tungsten, and T for tantalite of Great Lake region origin. Over these years of interactions, I find Dr. Joerg extremely erudite, altruistic, often hell-bent, honest, and most importantly, trustworthy, and yet a man with utmost modesty. Dr. Joerg is married to Dr. Eva Otzen. She is a qualified neuro and biofeedback therapist. They have 2 children, Leonard Otzen, who is into commodity trading market, and Mary Pauline Otzen, who I believe must be into a college by now. So without any further ado, let me now request Dr. Joerg Otzen to take us through this exciting evening. Thank you. Dr. Joerg Otzen.
Ashish, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this great introduction. As always, you are too humble in explaining the joint trading effort. Anyway, the day is today for the students, and I briefly would like just to share you my 4 slides. So you see again in a structured way where I come from. So first of all, thank you very much for having me today at the Indian Institute of Management at your school. And I have spoken to several MBA classes in the world, but never ever in India. So I feel even more honored that I can be the first time in your very amazing country to give a little bit of my insights. Where do I come from? As Ashish mentioned, I am an engineer. I got a bachelor, master, and doctoral degree in engineering. I was a lazy pupil in school, but then I finally still made it at university. I also had an exchange program with the University of Medicine, Wisconsin. And then after 2 years of working while I was doing my doctorate degree in industry, I was, by the way, in the chemical industry, I got my Harvard degree. And Ashish mentioned that I have been throughout a lot of industries, in particular in the production industry, and always combined, or most of the time, with investment banking. As Ashish has detailed that already, I think we can skip. So I need to know more about my audience now quickly. I think it's first class MBA school class, and they have, a lot of them have work experience. And I see from the faces we have as well a cultural diversity. So I guess I will listen now a little bit to your questions, your insights, and let you know my very personal subject view on industries, on the world, and on the financial industry.
Sure, Dr. Joerg Otzman. So my friends are all eager to find answers to some of their questions. So let me pose the first question, which is, please share the insights and the skills which you have learned at Harvard University, which helps you establish your entrepreneur skills or your personal brand.
Yeah, I have. I was a quite educated engineer, so I was kind of had a very solid base, but I had in many instances a tunnel view, I call it. Okay, so whenever I went into a kind of helicopter or drone view over a situation, I was focused on engineering. But I forgot all the other sides of the companies, like marketing, finance, supply, etc. So the learning on this was quite superficial at Harvard, but the stress level was very high because we had to do 4 cases a day, and some had 30, 40 pages. And at Harvard, we had the Forst curve, where the 10 least students in terms of grades had to leave that semester. They were fired from the university. So even, the best of the best in a class, they were forced to learn quite strongly. So you learn to act quickly. Okay, so first, the decision-making process on limited number of information, that was influenced my brain a lot. Meaning decision tree, likelihoods, and outcomes. Second, as I told you, I was looking at more from a strategic point of view. Everybody might know the book Michael Porter, 5 Forces. I think this book still is very valid in this world today. So yeah, Porter 5 Forces are in my brain stamped as well. Then I had very good professors in entrepreneurial management and finance, and adding on top of all my engineering skills. So that's what I got. So stress level, fast decision making, and unlimited resources.
Thank you for answering this question. I would like to pose a second question, which is coming. So it is, what are the top sectors or industries you want us to focus on in the next coming decade?
The world is changing, and as we have seen today, we are in war in Europe. If you had answered me that question yesterday, I might have answered you slightly different. So again, the production sector might become important in Europe, and also coming back from Asian country. However, looking at India, and I think India is not so much, touched by whatever happens in Europe. I think in your country, I would focus on the finance industry. I mean, you're anyway somehow linked to the Anglo-Saxon countries. Okay, so like the British system and the American system. Second, there is, as you know, my latest learning field has been the medical industry and the brain and the way of thinking and the neurotransmitters. So I like very much to argue from this point of view, the demand. The demand of many people is triggered by their brain and their wishes. So that means dopamine. Okay, so if we say, well, Dopamine is always a safe way to go, like the food consumer companies, Nestle, etc. I think that's a good sector as well. So legal drugs, sugar is for me a drug. You can read the book of Professor Lustig from the U.S.A, Hacking the American Mind. It's a great book. Just read everything about sugar and how it is a drug. So third, I think the world has a problem in water. You are lucky to be close to the Himalaya. So things in water purification or water transport might be as well a very good idea for your country. Then I think power production in general and distribution, and where Ashish and myself have been in, I think mineral extraction. However, if you want to be in general industries, which I have not mentioned, I think the globalization has led to big players. So don't go into the mass market. Even in common markets, if you are a niche player, which has a very special patent or whatever, okay, try to stay in that niche market. Don't compete with the big companies, but develop that niche market.
Thank you so much for answering this question as well. I think Arpit Singhvi has got his answer. My next question is from Sandeep Soman, and he questions that what was the most challenging decision of your life and how you made it? What was at stake?
I think two things. One is challenging in terms of job decision. So when I left the US, or when I was the last semester in the US, the decision was, my decision was to go into investment banking. Okay, that was clear. I came from consulting, but I wanted to go away. Okay, so and then the question was, shall I do it in Europe or in the US? And I had an offer from New York and I had an offer from Germany, and I decided to go back to my roots. And that has to do with a good saying of my famous entrepreneurial finance professor at Harvard, who said, to be happy, first, he had given us 3 advices. To be happy, first choose the area you want to live in. Second, don't go too much into debt, and third, try to have a balanced lifestyle. So the salary was much higher in New York, but I still decided to go back to Germany. So that was a little bit challenging, The second one was a real potential career breaker, which anybody will have or had in his life. My father was dying. He had a heart attack in the last hours, and my mother requested me to come. On the same day, I had a closing of a merger and acquisition deal. So my decision was, to might get fired, not, being able to attend that closing of the deal, or to say bye-bye to my father. And I did the latter one. I said bye-bye to my father.
Definitely, it was a very hard decision for you to take, I would say. And like you said, that, work-life balance is very important. And Germany gave you that opportunity to have a balance of both. I think that answers this question. Thank you so much. Now I pose the next question, which is from Jyoti Ranjan. So Jyoti Ranjan asks, how can we ensure inclusive economic growth and safeguard our planet?
The thing is that, sorry to correct, but we don't need to safeguard our planet. We need to safeguard the humans, because nature is much stronger than we. And even if we put 3 times, 4 times the pollution, even, nuclear pollution, after a couple of thousand years, nature will come back, but not we human beings. So we have to be very brave and thinking that, is the planet going to allow us to stay on Earth and live and not to be distinctive? So, and that comes comes then the second of your lifestyle and your behavior, you know. And again, to be an honest person is key, I think, to look into the mirror every morning and say, well, I am at least somehow honest, you know, I have not cheated in a way with a big lie that I got that position and put my colleague into a defense situation. In the long run, that pays, even if you are not getting the highly stressed job of your colleague. In the long run, it pays out. Second, we have the problem that we deal a lot of times with people in politics and in ministries which have to act in a dishonest way. Okay, and I can give you an example. I can give you an example of the German car diesel engine. Okay, the German car diesel engine brings in the dirty air from the road, but has so good filters and catalysts inside that the air coming out of the exhaustion system in the bag is cleaner than what it sucks in. The real problem in pollution with cars is microplastic from the tires, but nobody touches this. Okay, so in Germany we killed the diesel engine. Okay, but the pollution is not at all solved. Okay, so that is an example. By the way, remember that we are producing 22 tons of plastic worldwide a second, of which 10% go into the rivers and the oceans as well per second. So yeah, I don't want to play here the Green Party, but be a little bit more respectful and honest. And yeah, this is the way. And I know it is very difficult, in particular in a very competitive industry. Yeah, but this is my honest view, and this might be also against a little bit the view of the very encouraged Harvard students who always say, no, we are the best and the brightest of the world, and we will solve any problem, you know, with new technology. No, something, if it goes too much against nature, you cannot solve. Nature is so powerful.
Thank you for answering this question. Now, my next question is from Namita and Neetu Mohan. So they both have a common question. The question is, what is your criteria to decide which company has investment potential?
Okay, that's a very personal view how I do things. Okay. I look at companies by always going first into a helicopter. I'm trying to overview, and that's what I learned at Harvard, the whole situation. Okay, I might lose out, you know, the small ants on the floor and the mice, but I see the giraffes and I see the big trees. So this helps to get a little bit a good orientation. Then I usually read the reports, the annual reports or the business plans, whatever I get into my hand. But I read it in a different way because I focused at Harvard on entrepreneurial finance. And you can write very bloomy words into an annual report, but the numbers speak for itself. So I always go and look first at the profit and loss statement, then at the balance sheet, and then some annual reports even have a cash flow statement. Many don't have. So then you have to go and analyze the balance sheet together with the P&L and derive your own cash flow statement. So, and then I know the exact questions to answer to the CEO of the company or to the entrepreneur who wants to start. So this is how I do it. Overlook the problems on one hand, by just watching, seeing, reading, speaking to clients, customers, and whatever, but then go and dig into the annual report, but from backwards. The numbers first, and then the bloomy word.
That's very interesting, interesting point of view to share with us. Thank you so much. My next question is, it's by Rohit Singh, and he would like to ask you, what would be your advice from your experience that you will give to an entrepreneur who is planning to start his company or his venture?
Again, it comes back to the skills we already have discussed. You have to choose the right industry. The question was already on which industry to choose. Maybe you inherit as well, from your family or from friends, or you can become a partner. So then you don't have so much choice in which business you go in. If you decide it's a good one, go ahead. Then, develop your skills in finance. Okay. Understand the financials. Okay. Develop definitely a goal, even if you don't know how to get there. And that's again what you get taught at Harvard all the time. Develop a vision and a goal. And I think that's true, even if you don't know how to get there. I want to go to India today from Europe. I don't know how. I want to visit Ashish. Okay. I don't know how, but I will see him next week. I don't know if I go by train, by bus, by car, by plane, whatever. I want to see him. I think that is good. And then develop the way to go there. And ask always, this is a key question, which resources do I require to get there? And which resources do I need for the established business? So you need two kind of resources. They are overlapping. And then how I can acquire those resources. Some I only can acquire with big money. Some I can acquire without money, because I have a good friend, who will give me a lot of advice, and he will, even for big money, not give that advice to a company because it's my school friend. So, these are resources. Or I have a piece of land at a river, and that's the only one, available at the river. So, and I'm doing something with, wood logging or something. And so again, think about what resources, and think deeply, and re-question always your business plan every day. Do I have the right resources? How much do they cost me in terms of, personal involvement with people or with money? And then, you get to your goal.
Yes, I think when we set a goal, then we can research about our resources, what to take, and which route to take to reach that goal. Thank you for answering this question.
I think, Dr. Joerg, I would just like to add a bit to it, is that every time we entrepreneurs think about a budget, think about a plan, and this much of money I will require to do this piece of business, having a goal set in mind. By the time you enter into the venture, you end up realizing that you may need 3 times the money you have planned initially, and probably 10 times the time that you have planned to put in. So yes. that's the bitter truth. So you need to be determined, and that resilience should be there to overcome all situations that you may face by venturing into this. Thank you.
Exactly the point you got. So never get frustrated,
Great. Thank you so much. So the next question is by Sainath, and he wants to ask you that what motivated you to become an entrepreneur?
What motivated me? Yeah, I'm a risk taker, Ashish knows me. I'm a risk taker. And I like my freedom. Okay. By the way, you might have less freedom as an entrepreneur, but freedom means to me that I can execute what is required by the market, because I have worked in 2 big corporations. Okay. And many decisions which I had to execute, in my view, and I might be wrong, but I had the feeling 40% of them were politically driven internally in the company. And we were at that point already, how you should be in business, kind of honesty. I mean, you can sell. I had the case when I restructured a big company, 4 billion in sales, and they came down to 600 million because they got almost bust during the internet bubble burst 2001. And I sold 27 divisions. So revenue went down from 4 billion US dollars to 600 today. And the decision which business to sell was so politically motivated. If we had sold other businesses or another business, we would have come out of that much earlier. But the CEO and the division head were so good friends that they said, no, 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 not this cash cow, not this cash cow. We are not going to sell that cash cow. So you see, and you know, this is one big factor why I wanted to become my own boss, which is a wrong explanation. You're not your own boss. You're determined as well by the market, but not by non-explainable decisions, okay, by which I call politics. Okay, if the market requires this, sure, you do it. You know, if you go into a new product where you have to work 14 hours a day instead of 8, yeah, that's determined by the market, but not if your boss says, well, I don't like your nose, please, tomorrow on you stay 14 hours a day and no longer 8 hours. So second, yeah, if you stay 5 years in an industry, in a company, you know pretty much the market. And then I like to go on my journey to get a broad knowledge. For example, as Ashish mentioned, I'm so bored a little bit of engineering at the moment, and also all this talk about, and it's great stuff, huh, by the way, I don't want to criticize, but you know, 5G networks and Industry 4.0, I went into a totally different category, which is medicine. I'm so interested in brain, okay, and neurotechnologies that this is my passion at the moment. So that's another attitude of myself to change sectors after 5 or 10 years.
Thank you for answering this question, Herr Otzen. So the next question is from Vishal Sharma, and he asks, what is the future of higher education and skilling?
The future of higher education and skilling is in the internet. Okay, we have seen Andrew NG and other Google people who started the free internet education. I think it's a big threat for, sorry, huh? I'm at the moment talking to people from a business school, but this is how they have to think about, you know, barriers of entry. Okay, yeah, free education will be available more and more. Even Harvard and Stanford, and you name them, you can get free courses. Okay, so and that's why I say, as an MBA, I have a different example. I had a class colleague who studied business administration in Germany, and then he studied business administration at Harvard, and he's one of the best people at Carlyle. Okay, one of the, you know, huge, powerful investment funds. Okay, but in general, I have many other examples where people studying just business administration and on the job then later are in business administration and get a knowledge of the product is not enough to sustain maybe long term in that industry. I would put it around. First, I always call it the real stuff. I would learn the real stuff, you know, become a master in bakery, you know, become a woodlogger, become whatever. And then you do the MBA, and then you run the wood manufacturing plant. You will be so strong, okay? So this is on top of where education goes. Look at Harvard. Harvard started at, when I entered in 1990, no, when I left, I think in 1995, they started, because it's a money-making machine. You have to see that in the US in particular, education is so expensive, but it's an industry. It's an industry, and they have to cope with it, and they cope with it with the banks. Okay, the banks is refinancing, the students have the students loan, huge debt. Everybody gives the student, every bank gives it, and then they have to work very hard in industry to pay it back. Okay, so it's an industry, and that is not, cannot fall away. There are even politics, so much politics behind it that you cannot leave it. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. You know, we need turnaround of cash. We need GDP. Okay, that's all fine. It's an industry. However, you see that Harvard, in its approach, I think it was 1995, started to have an admission in fall and in spring. Usually they had it just in fall, 800 students, and in spring now the same. And I think they closed it down 5 years later because of the demand in business administration is there, but is not so high that you need 1,600 students from Harvard every year. But while it, look, at the moment in Switzerland, there, if you want to become a banker, it's quite easy, okay? And you get an appointment quite easy. Try to get a plumber for your house at the moment. Try to get somebody for a new heating system, the basic jobs, the real stuff. And you can run later on a chain of plumbers, you know. In every town you have a small shop. That's as well, you know. A lot of my Harvard colleagues went and run a huge car dealership. They are not the boss of British Petroleum or whatever, okay? They are running a car dealership, okay? So, and this is securing your long-term employment much more than going with an MBA, I think, right into a company, Nestle and whatever, and you never understood in detail, because you have not worked as a baker or you know, as a food engineer, how production is working. So that is always my advice, to go long-term. And as I said, the internet is changing the education world. You get a lot of free online courses, in particular on finance, marketing, and sourcing and total quality management and all this. So, but in how doing the exact machine and bakery, this might be more a problem to get an online course.
Yes, definitely, I would say. And, you know, with this pandemic, online learning has accelerated many folds. And here comes the next question, which is related to it, which is from Tanmay. And Tanmay says, Tanmay asks that in the VUCA world, that means that volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity as a term is more justified during the pandemic. What kind of agile business model we should think for the future, and how?
By the way, I'm learning as well, huh? So the VUCA was for me a new vocabulary, okay? I understand now what VUCA means. And as it's in fashion with, you know, with clothes, sometimes you change from a red shirt this year to next year rosé in spring, whatever. So that happens here as well. So coming back, we always had this kind of problem, okay? And the thing is that it depends a lot on the organization and how it's built, and definitely on the managers at the top. So in the 1950s, if we just look at the lifespan of a company, okay, in the 1950s, a company on average lasted 60 years. Today, it is about 15 years. So death, you know, average age has decreased 4 times, okay? So that's amazing. And this is because exactly of this phenomenon, VUCA. And yeah, it is, you know, information gathering. is key. Fast change of strategy, setting new goals, but then again, knowing other than starting a company, you might need to be much faster in finding the way how to get to that goal. Again, throughout the way you get to the goal, fast execution and decision making, because you might have to divert. You can't go take the road straight. You might sometimes have to turn left or right. And very, very efficient communication between not just the employees, but also the stakeholders, meaning for the resources, you need maybe your suppliers, you need politicians in town who agree to build a bigger factory, so I really mean all stakeholders, a very efficient communication. So build a dynamic organization. And this is as well sometimes a problem, in particular in bigger companies, because they have their whole business mirrored in software. The SAP and the Oracle software is built in a way that they are, electronically computer aided, supporting the whole system. So suddenly, if you build a new factory or you're changing the way of manufacturing a good, then you have to change as well the technology, the SAP, the Oracle software behind it. So never let the software rule your organization. Again, speed is key, but in all aspects, speed in communication, in changing operations. Yeah.
Thank you for that, sharing this insight, because there are some aspiring entrepreneurs in our batch who would really be, using your advice. Okay, so thank you so much for answering this question.
You're welcome.
So the next question is coming from Udit, and he asks, how do we handle the constant disruptions in the market as a leader?
Yeah, this is an add-on question, I would say. First of all, it's a kind of crisis. So crisis, or we can go to the stock market, right? So when you have crisis, meaning when people don't know, you have very high volatility, right? But whenever you have very high volatility, when you have a crisis, more and more opportunities usually come up, because human beings are, many times lazy, and they like the way how things are going. And they think, well, we have a crisis today. So we really have one with the Ukraine issue today. But, economy at the moment is working well in Switzerland, in Germany, whatever, We had a lot of customer calls today. They said, yeah, this will be a small issue and it will be solved after a month and whatever, and it will not go further. So they're lazy. They don't want to prepare for, a further increased conflict in one or the other way. And the same is here. So look for a crisis is, traders, which are gamblers. They like crisis. They like opportunities, and volatility brings opportunity. So I wouldn't see it too negative. Okay. Is that answered satisfactory?
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. And I would say that without these challenges and without these crises, no opportunities will rise. And there will be very less chances to grow and learn and to experiment with new things.
And the big conglomerates in the market, if it just goes straight, the big tankers, British Petroleum or Nestle or whatever, they know their road. And if it goes straight without a curve, they always win. But markets are changing. So you have to take the curve sometimes, and then you have the opportunity.
Definitely. So I think the next question is also a part of it. How can we convert a crisis into an opportunity, especially in the biotechnology domain? It has been asked by Pushpadwaja.
In particular in biotechnology. I am in neuroscience, okay? And yeah, I can answer this question for 3 hours, okay? And it gets a little bit very, very fuzzy technical, and some people mind, well, this guy is just crazy. But we have seen scientists like Tesla, like Heisenberg, and like very famous people who got Nobel Prizes, okay? And we can't say, well, they haven't existed. This is fake news. No, they have brought up technology which goes beyond what we have at the moment, okay? And meaning, in clear words of physics, we are all in the Newton world, where forces, time, and distances exist. But if you go into the other part, of physics, okay, where you don't have those, then you find ways to explain medicine and biology in a totally different way. And I think this is quantum physics. Quantum, you know, a light particle is a quantum. And there you have totally different parameters. And so there are scientists in Germany who say, for example, you're not eating food, you're eating light, because the fresh food, which incorporated the sunlight, has a totally different effect on your body than the refrigerated and old one. And as we see in India as well, you know, a lot of people are vegan. They don't eat meat, but they eat fresh vegetables, and they are very healthy. So again, I think the combination in biotechnology, focusing a little bit more on physics, and in particular on quantum physics, might change the way. But that's now a very, very technical answer, okay? What kind of, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your insights and your point of view, Herr Otzen. Now I have come to the last question of the session. This question is from Ananta Mandal, and he asks, how to get the attention of the people living in a world of attention economy?
Okay, very good question. And I think I would like to answer this in a way so you see my way of thinking when I analyze a problem, okay? And you have to see the root and the cause, or you have to see the symptoms and the cause, okay? Okay. So we get more and more attention because of something, but why is this? And by the way, I forgot to answer what I learned at Harvard, okay? In particular, in total quality management and TQM, you hear every day from your professor 10 times during the hour to ask why. Why is this, okay? So now, as I'm thinking decision tree, as I'm thinking cause and root, and as I'm thinking, why is this? I go back to the human brain and ask, why are we so attentive to this? And this is because of our dopamine. Sorry now for all those people who have not been in chemistry or medicine. It is a molecule, or it's a hormone which triggers our happiness, okay? By the way, read the book, Hacking the American Mind, by the way, bestseller book in New York Times, from Professor Lustig, okay? I had him once as well on the phone. I was honored that he took the time for 1 hour. A great guy. And he explains that very well. Anything which makes you happy, you want more and more and more, because you want to be triggered, your brain wants to be triggered more and more by dopamine. And if you are, have a problem not being resilient to it, then you really require more and more. And that's, by the way, the problem of the because these drugs trigger as well, for example, a lot of dopamine. So if you are, a good-looking girl and you are then, in your nice shirts and you like yourself, and then, well, I have tomorrow another more 1,000 followers, this triggers very short-term dopamine and you want more. So you go from a shirt to underwear and then to a bikini because you want more and more followers. And the followers, they want, well, I want to look like her. So they go to the beauty surgeon in the end, to be triggered, their dopamine. And this is, we need dopamine, okay? Otherwise you wouldn't wake up in the morning. It's a curve, a parabola turned around, okay? It's not like this. It is this in medicine. And you need to be at the top. But if you always trigger too much, you go down and you need more and more of it to have the same level of happiness, okay? And this is exactly our problem at the moment with this whole Instagram stuff, okay? So, yeah, to give you an answer, how to get more attention, again, is faster and to do more and more and more and more of that stuff. Is it healthy? No. I would go to the other hormone, which makes you healthy. It's serotonin. It's another one, okay? So serotonin is triggered when you are together with friends. You have reached a degree at your university after 2 years. This is triggering dopamine, and that makes you content. This doesn't make you happy for a second. Buying a new car makes you maybe happy for a day. On Instagram, that makes you happy for 5 seconds. No, this triggers dopamine. So I only, sorry to give not the answer, saying, well, I know exactly the way how to do it even faster and better of Instagram. My answer would be, leave it, okay? Go to the dopamine, do stuff which are not climbing as high as they could, but don't forget, trees are not growing into the sky, okay? And the same is with dopamine, and the same is with happiness. There is a limit to it, and you get addicted to it, and then your life is gone. So go to the content part of your life. Sorry.
No, I think you explained it very well with a relevant example, like Instagram. And thank you for the answer and explaining it so well. Here, like I can, see the time, is running fast. And I would like Mr. Ashish Samal to come ahead and
Yeah, you need to give us some tips of how to pass this exam, how to cross the MBA program.
In Germany, they just caught 100 pupils who were doing their driver licenses, okay? And they had built into their mask a camera, okay? And had earplugs. So they got all their answers, via via mobile data into their ear. I know that's the wrong answer. No, again, I think study in a good way. I think have a good communication with your professor. I think he's obliged to help you. You are at a very good university. I think your professorship is at that level, definitely, to do that. And anyway, you have the attitude Indians have, sorry to go into this cultural thing, but are very helpful people. They have by themselves developed that, but also the British system of being very polite has changed that. They are not the rude Germans we are direct and sometimes rude. So no, do that. Go ahead I know that at Harvard we had, you know, the point that we had a psychologist. Okay, we had a psychologist who I learned afterwards 10 or 20% of the students went to a psychologist because they thought they are going to fail. So again, I get here a little bit serious and come to the medical point of view. Chronic stress and thinking every day, well, I will not make it, okay, is the wrong way of thinking. There are ways out, but this way of thinking decreases now. We talked about dopamine, okay, and I told you about the curve, okay, and you should be on top, the parabolic curve. You are going to the left area where you have much too few dopamine, and this is proven by medicine that it gives you less confidence and makes you much less driven and leading to bad decision making. So what you can also do in terms of, you know, having the close link to the professors where you don't understand, where you need help, be a brave study person, but also do some way of exercises or of, you are great in this, you know, of meditation, you know, your culture is great in this, use this, because you need to have a study life balance as well, like you have a job, okay? Otherwise, your biology of your body will not function, and then it even gets worse.
Thank you, Joerg.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Joerg, for such a wonderful explanation. And we are very sure we will get through, Joerg, as you have done. From you know. No, thank you very much. And Chitwan, do we have any other questions from the participants?
No, I think for the questions we finish here, and I would, on behalf of all of us, would express thanks and gratitude for our eminent guest, Dr. Joerg Otzen, who honored this session with his inspirational thoughts, and your valuable presence and life-changing thoughts have motivated us a lot. Vielen Dank, Herr Jotz. Und also ich wünsche Ihnen einen schönen Tag noch. I also would like to thank Mr. Ashish Samal for taking out time and helping us implement this wonderful session. And I will also thank all my brilliant and enthusiastic batchmates for making it a great success. Thank you all.
Appreciate that.
This is Chitwan, Ashish, and all the students. I wish you all the best luck. And through Ashish or through Mrs. Chitwan, if you ever have any more questions, you know, you can reach out to me.
That's very kind of you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joerg.
Have a very good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Vielen Dank. Vielen Dank.
Bye-bye.
Bitte.